aircraft carrier, kingpin of the Pacific Naval War, a war in which aircraft, whether land-based or carrier-borne, have dominated the scene. In the European War, there have been a number of occasions when capital ship has been sunk by capital ship, the Scharnhorst by the Duke of York's guns, Bismarck by the Rodney and King George V. But in the Pacific, it's been mainly aerial warfare because of the enormous distances involved. In the first 3 years' fighting, aircraft have inflicted all the major casualties. Think of Pearl Harbour, where 150 Japanese planes smashed up 8 battleships and a number of other vessels belonging to a power with whom Japan was officially at peace. Think of the Prince of Wales and the Repulse, sent to the bottom by aerial torpedoes and bombs. On the other side of the picture, think of the Battle of the Coral Sea, in which the Japanese lost a carrier, 4 cruisers, and 2 destroyers. The Battle of Midway, when they lost 4 carriers, 2 cruisers, and had 3 battleships and 4 cruisers damaged. Think of the Battle of the Bismarck Sea, in which a whole convoy of 12 transports, 3 cruisers, and 7 destroyers was smashed. In all these actions, no capital ship has ever been in action against another capital ship. So that's the character of the Pacific War. This film will show you the picture from both sides, the fellow being bombed and the fellow doing the bombing. Here are New Zealanders setting out on a bombing trip. Here also is part of an American task force in the Southwest Pacific. Somewhere beyond the horizon is a Japanese naval force. Right overhead, Japanese aircraft are attacking the United States warships, paying special attention to aircraft carriers whose own fighters are defending the fleet. Plane v plane and plane v carrier. When things begin to happen, they happen fast. Most of us who have been bombed have felt that we were personally selected as the objective. Aboard ship, you know you've been specially selected. You are the target. And it's the cameraman's unenviable job to keep turning while everyone else goes flat and bombs come screaming down. Jap planes being shot down into the drink, carriers taking evasive action, carriers being hit, hits and near misses, plane v plane and plane v carrier, bombs and flak. It's all here in one historic screen record of sea warfare. And if we get away with it, thinks the cameraman, our luck's in. Aircraft Carrier X, this ship was called. Actually, it was the Enterprise. Carriers are the chief targets, no doubt of that. A near miss and another over there. And now for a close-up of a direct hit. Then, to fight the flames, men jump to it. Then they turn back for a moment as a new attack develops. Another direct hit. That was on the after elevator of the flight deck. Made a pretty good mess. The ship battles on, passing the wreckage of Jap aircraft burning on the sea. And the firefighters carry on with their job, the fight to save their ship, a fight they eventually won. There's not a moment's let-up in this battle against the enemy bombers. Although many are destroyed, the blitz continues. Another carrier, same battle. Notice how a big ship can swing when she's in a hurry. Another near miss. Just watch what the concussion does to that plane. You might think from these pictures that the battle was going against the Americans, but those battered aircraft are back from battering the enemy fleet. Actually, during this Battle of Santa Cruz, American aircraft succeeded in damaging 2 Japanese aircraft carriers, one of them probably sunk, 2 battleships, one again probably sunk, and 3 cruisers. And in order to show you how it feels to be on the hitting end of the operation, we'll take a look at the Battle of the Bismarck Sea. Early in March 1943, the approach of a large Japanese invasion force was reported. Over a score of troop transports and their escorts had been spotted by reconnaissance aircraft, New Zealand, Australian, American, which observed and photographed the concentration of enemy ships at Rabaul in New Britain. Ever since the Japs had been beaten back in New Guinea, the Allies had been expecting enemy reinforcements in strength, and now they were on the way. The chance to strike a great blow from the air had come. The Royal Australian and Royal New Zealand Air Force and their American comrades had all been longing for just such a chance, and how they took it. New Zealand and Aussie ground staffs as keen as the men who would fly the planes in action. Hours, days, weeks of toil in sweltering heat were about to be gloriously rewarded. It didn't matter which of the 3 Allied air forces you belonged to, you were an anti-Jap flying man, and that was all that counted. Kittyhawks, Mitchells, Beaufighters and Bostons took off, and the cameraman took off with them to make a film record of the show. A score of ships takes a deal of sinking. Not only the fate of New Guinea, but the security of Australia and New Zealand might well depend on the heaviness of the blow about to be struck. Heavy bombers, medium bombers and fighters all went up in a mighty concentration against the big Japanese concentration. There's a Liberator on her way out to the target, and what a target. Every member of every crew knew what was expected of him. The Japs have had it coming to them, they thought, and now they're going to get it. Neither Hancock nor Zeros were destined to save the Japs from annihilation in the Battle of the Bismarck Archipelago. From scores of planes marked with the British Rondel or the American Star, the bombs went down into transports packed with Japanese troops. Ship after ship was hit. This historic battle lasted 2 days. Ships were sunk outright and ships were set on fire. Fighters and bombers that had used up their bombs ripped into the battle again, raking anything that had so far escaped with cannon fire, giving them something to be going on with until bombs could sink them or set them ablaze. Relentlessly, scientifically, the extermination of the Japanese continued. Surviving ships attempted to carry on. Their task was to steam through the straits between New Britain and New Guinea and to reach Finschhafen, Lae or Salamaua on the north coast. Although they were being attacked all the way, right up to the last, the depleted convoy still hoped to succeed in landing reinforcements. A few got within a comparatively short distance of Finschhafen, where the enemy tried to reach port in small boats and landing barges crammed with troops, all fully armed and intent on reaching New Guinea to carry on the fight. They too were wiped out by the guns of the aircraft, and when a small target like that is missed,